Donald Trump is threatening a new trade war. He's going after the European Union with a 50% tariff threat and warning Apple to build iPhones in the U.S. or pay up. It's rattled markets, raised big questions, and as Aaron Collins tells us from Washington, the fallout could be far-reaching.
In this U.S. president's roller coaster trade war with pretty much everyone on the planet, things seem to be picking up steam again. Donald Trump posting on social media today that he was frustrated with the trade deficit between the U.S. and the EU. The president pushing a familiar fix in that post, tariffs. Trump saying he wanted to see a 50% tariff on the 27-nation trading bloc by June 1st. Of course, this comes as the EU and U.S. are locked in trade relation negotiations. Here is the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, speaking on Fox News today.
The president believes that the EU proposals have not been of the same quality that we've seen from our other important trading partners. Well, I'm not going to negotiate on TV, but I would hope that this would light a fire under the EU.
This kind of tariff threat starting to become a familiar part of the Trump negotiating strategy, and reaction from Europe has been swift but measured so far, perhaps picking up on the rhythm of a Trump trade negotiation. The Polish trade minister saying that some negotiations are going on behind closed doors, while others are more public, a nod to Trump's social media posts. And he went on to say that Europe has noticed that not all of the U.S. threats on trade necessarily materialize, something policy analysts in the EU have picked up on too.
I think there's significant uncertainty on whether they will happen. But one thing is clear, if they happen, it means a major disruption to the transatlantic economy, which is going to be very bad for the US, for US consumers, and very bad for European consumers and European producers in particular.
So analysts unsure if these tariff threats will materialize, but certain if they do, it will be damaging to both economies. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Washington.
And for more on this, I want to bring in Jeff Fieldhack. He is the research director at Counterpoint Technology Market Research. He's joining us from Colorado. Jeff, good to speak with you.
My pleasure. Nice to be here.
So whenever a new iPhone is released, the prices always do surpass the previous models. And I think for a lot of people, they seem pretty out of reach. If these tariffs were to go into effect, what would that mean for consumers?
Yeah, well, first, the consumers would bear the brunt of it, certainly. The national retailers, Best Buy, Walmarts that sell phones, or the carriers, which are Verizon, AT&T Mobile, the major ones in the U.S., they will push that on to consumers. So that's the big thing. As far as Apple specific, they have a huge brand equity and consumers love their devices. Would they change to another OEM? Probably not. However, they may hold on to their device even longer, which is already a long holding period of 3.5 years. Maybe it goes to 5 years. And at the low end, there are other options that maybe consumers would go to. So it is a negative, but Apple's brand and brand equity are super huge, but still a negative for Apple.
Donald Trump wants Apple to manufacture the iPhone in the United States. And I don't know, how does that work? The parts coming in from other suppliers globally, or is it possible that all parts are somehow made in the United States?
Well, anything's possible, I guess, if you throw enough money at it, but it's not at all reasonable. And I'll give you a couple examples. Nokia, Samsung, Google moved their operations, manufacturing operations from Shenzhen to Vietnam. And it took 2 years for that to happen. And Vietnam already had the factories. They just needed to be retooled. In the U.S., we don't have the factories yet. So that would be a lot of time. And it's and then as you said, all the major components, expensive components, which are the application processor, the display, and the camera stack, none of those are built in the U.S. So literally everything would be coming into the U.S.
As you say, there are competitors. Samsung don't rely on China for production like Apple does. So does Samsung potentially benefit here?
Well, maybe 12 hours ago, I would have agreed to you. A few hours later, Trump said that all smartphone OEMs selling in the U.S. would be, with this 25% tariff. So I guess that's spread. However, Samsung still would be a benefactor. They do have plants in near Austin. And they got a lot of money from the CHIPS Act, their foundry division. So they would be at an advantage over Apple, which has zero manufacturing here in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, so this really is about bringing the manufacturing, from what you understand here, into the United States. And you say anything's possible if you throw enough money at it, but is it realistic? Do you see, to what end do you see these smartphone companies at least making some kind of move, this potentially having some kind of an effect?
Honestly, I see most of the OEMs saying it's easier for us to pay the 25% tariff. It will take years to get these factories up and running, and I suspect they would just try to wait out the Trump administration, because Democrats, I don't think, are behind this, and I don't even think most Republicans are. So I would think that most OEMs would just play a waiting game.
Jeff Fieldhack is the research director at the Counterpoint Technology Market Research. Thank you.
My pleasure.